Great story, Jordan.
Yeah,
James.
that's my story. That's like an example.
So yes. So what can people learn from that? What can people take away from that?
Well, I kind of just want to turn it into an inquiry of like, when you want something, like how do you usually get it? Like when you ask for things,
Ooh, that's a great
how
question.
do you usually ask? Like how does your body move when you want something?
Yes. This makes me bring up something that I think is a huge do not do. And I want to get your take on it too. When you're asking for something, you snap your fingers and point.
Your parts don't like that.
I fucking hate that so much. And I'm not really sure exactly why. But yeah, that is a one-way ticket for me to be like, no, do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's a super insulting thing for me to like have somebody snap their fingers at me.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about why that's insulting. I mean, it makes sense, but
I mean, it's a non. I mean, I don't know if it's non-verbal, but it's one of those things of like, I don't know exactly why that is, but it's really just like, stop what you're doing because what you're doing is not important. Pay attention to me and do what I tell you. Like that's what it insinuates. That's what my parts kind of like shout when someone does that to me. And a lot of the times my response to that is like, fuck you. Don't snap your fingers at me.
Yeah. Okay. This is just
So
something that I'm noticing right now. You know what? I notice your body more than I was conscious of, because like I notice when different parts of you come out, like you move your body differently. Like that's or you like speak differently, especially around your face. Like when you're feeling a strong emotion, especially anger, like your mouth like gets kind of tighter, like your cheeks get tighter. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I mean, you probably notice it more, and this is probably some good intuition for ladies as far as like using nonverbal communication to see what's going on in your man's life, or at least your masculine partner, because yeah, there can be a lot of stuff said in like facial expression.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Your facial expressions. Yeah. And so I notice I like when your facial expressions start to change, and like when you start speaking a certain way, I'm like, oh, okay, these parts are here. Like this is a different part. And it's like kind of crazy to when you're in different parts of you, like how your face changes. And I'm sure it's the exact same for me. But parts, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, for men, I think, or at least whatever, I'm gonna say men, like facial verbal cues can really show fight or flight and like critical decision making emotional states of like, I'm about to do something. I'm about to do something that may like, I may have to like, what do I want to say? Take action. I might have to be lethal here for a second, because a lot of that can be a real tightening of the jaw. It's basically just like a tensioning of the spring to release.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Yeah.
And that can definitely be, when you watch guys like who are drunk in a bar and they're always like posturing on each other and all this kind of stuff, like there's a lot of verbal cues you can pick up from that as far as like, who really is intent on like doing something and versus who's just posturing, who's just trying to overcome an insecurity. And so yeah, the set of the jaw, the intensity of like the stare, and like eyebrows tell a lot. Like my eyebrows tell a lot about what's going on for me. Breath too, really shallow, short breaths are always an indication of like, I'm feeling cornered and I'm like preparing for flight or fight. So like if you're in an argument or something like that, and you have the wherewithal to pay attention to nonverbal communication, like especially for men, if you're visualizing that as a man, like he is feeling threatened and like he's not going to listen to you, then like he is going back into his like lizard brain. And so you may be telling him something super important and it's not going to click. Like his parts are, his firefighters are coming up and like, who wants to fight? And that's, I think, a lot of the times where men really kind of get at a disadvantage, because like when you're having a disagreement or something like that, that it really hits on like a trauma point for a man, like it's very easy to go into that, like, I'm going to fight now and I'm going to fight with you. And at that point, like, it doesn't matter if you're saying something super important or you're saying nothing, like none of it's getting through.
I feel like it's like that with any angry part or any part that's going into fight mode. Yeah.
Pay attention to that, because that could be a real cue to be like, okay, we need to take a step back, or we need to like reorient this conversation, because at that point you're not there, there's no communication. Like that's a cue of communication breakdown.
Yeah.
And you want to avoid that, because
that's a good way of putting it.